Hi everyone, welcome to today's Industry Solutions webinar. My name is Lisa Stewart and I'm the Marketing and Communications Coordinator here at 12D Solutions. 12D's Industry Solutions webinars are designed to provide insights into overcoming challenges in an evolving industry in more effective and efficient ways. We'll keep running these webinars regularly and recording them for posting on our YouTube channels with links through our website. Our previous webinars from this Industry Solutions series, as well as those from our training series, are available online if you missed those. During this presentation, you'll be able to type your questions along the way. We'll put some instructions on the screen. We'll answer as many as possible of those throughout the webinar, and at the end, I'll read out some of your questions to the presenter if there's time. Today's webinar, Introduction to 12D Model 14, will be presented by our co-founder and managing director, Dr. Lee Gregory, who has 39 years of experience in the civil software industry. In 12D Model 14, we've updated the menu structure and streamlined a lot of processes thanks to your great user feedback. This will be a vast improvement in the long run, but changes can take some getting used to. Today, Lee will walk you through some of those changes to help you switch to 12D Model 14 with ease. Over to you, Lee.
Thank you, Lisa. It's a pleasure to be able to introduce 12D Model 14 to everybody. There are many new features in 12D Model 14, and I'm certain you'll enjoy your V14 experience. I'll actually be just looking at some of the general features that you'll first notice when using 12D Model 14, and over the coming months there'll be webinars going through much more detailed look at the major 12D Model 14 options and their functionality. The question everyone asks is, what happened to 12D Model 13? Well, there was no 12D Model 13. Blame me for being superstitious, but I've decided to jump over that and go straight to 14. So don't worry, you haven't missed out on anything. And just to let you know, with our programming of 12D Model 14, it's like the other versions where we are doing continuous development. So what that means is we do release it as, say, C1A, and then over time we put out what we call subversions. And they will contain both bug fixes but also new functionality. Now, you did see that in version 12, where we actually put ARNR 2016 in version 12, even though it was slated for version 14. And similarly, our IFC Reader. So that'll be happening with 12D Model 14. We'll be adding extra functionality over time. People have been asking, though, just what is our release sequence? Why do we not see it on the web straight away? Well, basically, it's due to our QA system. The first place we post it is on our 12D Model Beta forum, where we have a number of beta customers who then can test it out and check it, plus also our own people and support people are testing out the version. So we're trying to track bugs earlier on before everyone else sees it. Once we're happy with the 12D Beta forum, everyone's got versions there that they're happy with, we then will post on the 12D Model forum. And that's where most of you have already seen it already, on the 12D Model forum. After it's been on there for a little while and we still don't have any new major bugs, we'll then turn on what's called the update checker, which tells you that there is a new version for you to download. So even if you don't know about the 12D Model forum, the update checker will let you know about it. So what we're doing is gradually increasing more and more users, so as we see more and more scenarios there to try and pick up bugs that we didn't catch in our development stage. Then finally, we'll post it on www.12d.com. Now, version 14 isn't on there as yet, so it'll probably go up there with our C2C version. The latest released version on our 12D Model forum is 12D Model 14 C2B. The C in there refers to, the number 2 refers to a database bump. And we are now currently working on 12D Model 14 C2C, getting it ready for releasing. And I'll be using some images and some functionality from 12D Model 14 C2C. And that's changed from the version that's up there due to your good feedback. So where do you find it on the 12D Model forum? Well, basically, there's a section there when you go on there called 12D Model Software Downloads. If you click on that, that will actually take you to where you're actually get all the things and information to download. I'm just now wandering to my other screen to bring up the actual forum. So there we have it, software downloads. If you click on that, you'll see various releases there. The 12D model 12C1S is there. Also 12D viewers on there, for those that I'll mention 12D view later. And then there's the official installs for 12D model 14. And if you go on there, what you actually do is have instructions on how to install it. There's actually a PDF called How to Install Version Model 12D Model 14 C2B, which takes you all through this as well, and also has all the links in it. So if you don't go to the website, you can also use that document. And so we tell you information there, check your code meter and so on. Then we have the installs, the installers, and things about what's new in it. And I'll come back to those, but that's just to tell you information. Particularly new in for 12 and now 14 is where we have these summaries. And they let you know in various forms what's in there, either by each subversion or the whole of version 14. We also have our online help and the context-sensitive help, our macro manual, and the installation notes again, if you didn't see them before. So it's all there up on the website for you. And on our forum, www.12d.com, when we release it, we just will put that installation notes, which has all the links in it as well. We do that so we've got everything in the one place, and so you don't get bad links happening. So as we said, there's the software downloads on the forum, the installing 12D Model 14 PDF, what's new in 12D Model 14 PDF, and what's new in 12D Model summaries. So all that's available to you, so you can actually read it and check out as well. So a couple of those I've actually got here just to show you what they look like. This is what we've got for the installing notes, and installing notes got a quick installation section that you can go to, which it actually then just has the links. So the links there, instead of going to the website, you can click on these links and you'll give you the installation information. And this has all full notes on installing it, and also about if you're looking having network code meters. The other one I mentioned there was the what's new. And again, I just have to wander my other screen to get that. And that's a what's new summary, in this case version 14, and we continually update this. So we add, as we get new things, we add it in there, so it will change with each subversion we put out. So that's a bit about the information there and how you can get to it. Now, getting on to 12D Model 14 itself, what you'll see there is the menu structure that we had in version 12, and we've tried to keep that for many years. People keep saying to me, why don't you change it with every version so it looks different? Well, I like to have the same things in the same place so that I don't have to relearn everything when you go to a new version, unless there's a very good reason to move things around. So we've kept this structure for many years, but we are now actually have changed it for version 14. So you'll see it's about the same length on the screen, but now some of them have disappeared. Edit, drafting, windows have gone. They've gone to elsewhere. And we've now got the top there, BIM, volumes, and water. And you'll see the sequence across the top probably follows how most people work and also fits in with lots of the modules. So you've got your views, your models, your strings, and then a lot of stuff on BIM. And then for surveyors, then volumes, which is common to a lot of people, our design, and then our water things. Now we'll come back to about why water in a second. So basically these are the three pull down menus that come from those new ones. But all the other options on the other disappearing menus are all elsewhere. So one thing there you'll notice is that the drainage and sewer is being replaced by water. So we now talk about a water string rather than a drainage string. And the water menu then has a water string information. So again, a lot of those things have then been moved around onto that menu. There's also stormwater tools, and then the 2D water, which is interfacing in TUFO and things, and the rivers and pipeline as before. Another thing for the water is the word pit, maintenance hole, manhole, and so on. They've just been replaced by the word node. And similarly, pipes have been replaced by link. The reason for that is that sometimes a node doesn't have to be a pit or a maintenance hole, and a link does not have to be a pipe. So it's just to make sure you realize it's much more general than just what those particular words are. When it comes to BIM, there's the menu there, because most of you will know that BIM is very, very strong in 12D model, but we've now put it there so it's up at the top level. So you've got your readers and writers for your IFC or KML, OBJ, FBX, and so on, and also being able to write out IFCs or PDFs, KML, and so on. Also, ADAC is there on that menu, because anyone who's used ADAC, which is used extensively throughout Australia, knows that is a BIM system, a very good BIM system that many, many councils are using. There's tri-meshes on that menu, and there have been a lot of new options in tri-meshes and being rearranged, point clouds, and also then now the visualization. So you can get to a lot of these things which go with BIM in one spot. Now, we've moved all these options around, but what in the hell, how on earth are you going to find them? Well, basically, we've updated our 12D model option searcher. That's an image from C2C, so it mightn't look that way in your existing, but you'll get it shortly. So what this does, though, it now searches not just the menus, which we did in version 12, but also the titles in most panels. So when you type in something, you're searching not only the menus, but also the panels. And you can actually see this in this, what's on the right-hand side there in the image. It actually also tells you then where the option is, and also just lists it on its own. And if you click on any of those, it will bring up that option. Now, there's a couple of different ways of using the searching pattern. If I've entered there, I've got spaces between the words. It's IFC, space express, space writer. It actually looks for any of those words in any order. So it doesn't matter what order you do it. So it doesn't bother you, but it has to have all those words. The other possibility, though, is if you use commas, it'll just search for IFC everywhere, express everywhere, writer everywhere. So it's a lot more general and you pick up a lot more stuff. Whereas if you have spaces, then what the items have to have all the words that you've put in there. So look, the fact you can now search virtually all menus and panels means you'll be able to use the search all the time to find virtually every option. You'll also notice in C2C that there's sliders not just vertically, but also horizontally. So that was one of the things we've been working on for C2C, which you'll get in this with our continuous development. Now, one thing that you all will need to know about, and the first thing is to say, where do I find things? And that's called project settings. And basically, these are things that are saved with a project. So there are things like environment variables, which are used on every project, new or old, but these are things that you start a new project and they have certain values, and when you change them, it's remembered with that project. Things like that will lay defaults. When we used to have defaults and various things, they're all now gone into this project settings. And it's simply on the main project menu, and it brings up this project settings panel. And you'll see up the very top it says defaults. That came from your defaults. There's things down there like save, trash model, plots and reports. They all came from the old defaults panel, but there are other ones in there as well, because the ones for water, they're in there, survey. So a lot of those have come to one place. Now, some of the things just to notice straight off, which you might find useful, is on the very main page, when you click on settings, there's a use super inquire. This allows you to turn off whether you're going to have what we're now going to call inquire styles, rather than the old type of pop-up menu for when you inquire on something. This allows you to turn on and off rather than have to change the environment variable. And you'll notice there's also an item in there, so that's very good. You don't have to go elsewhere. You can also set your inquire style there. You also there's a tick to say copy inquire information as a clipboard. Now what that does is every time, if you've got that turned on, whenever you pick something, you get something in the inquire panel, it also puts it into the clipboard so you can paste it elsewhere. So you've always got access to that information if you want it, rather than have some, well, I'm not certain how else you could get it in the old days apart from writing it down by hand. There's another one there I think you'll find very, very useful called Auto Save Screen Layout. Now, if this one is ticked on, when you save and exit 12D model, it'll try and remember as many of the panels and menus that we can write out to a layout file. And when you start up again, they will automatically be brought back onto the screen. So if you've got a whole lot of panels and things showing on the screen and menus, with this turned on, you can exit 12D model, and when you come back into that project, most of them will still be there. So very, very useful, and I use it all the time. So it allows you to not have to start and bring everything else up again, or people could do this by writing out a screen layout file, but you then had to read it back in each time. So I think you'll enjoy that one quite a bit. Another thing down there is a thing under called select. This has actually got 3 types, and I will go through and show them in more detail. One is called view models, and then it's got typing overview plus or minus, and I'll explain that. Then it's got a thing called models, tins, and functions. Now, these ones control what happens when you type over, say, the plus or minus on a view, or click on the plus or minus over the view, or when you click on, say, a model box, a tin box, a function box, what it actually sees in the list. And each of these is independent, so you can set them separately. So for example, the one for clicking on a plus or a minus on the view, so this is when you use your left mouse button to click on there. The choices we've got in there, and usually get a list of things coming up, but there's extra choices. You had not much control over that before. And you'll actually see there on the little image up there where you've got to type in information, it's then got these 2 icons. Now, AA is for match case, and AB with a thing above it is whole word. Now, when they're black, they're off, and they turn blue when they're on. Now, we changed that from 12, so I think we had red for 12 when they're on, if you had this thing turned on. This type of pop-up is now turned on by default. So where you might have seen it, although it did sort of exist in version 12. So basically now, black is off and blue is on. Now, what do these things mean, match case and whole word? It actually controls the searching when you type something into that little box up there, the search box. You'll notice all here too, this thing actually does have a horizontal scroll bar and a vertical scroll bar, and also up in this panel, it actually defines how wide you want this thing to be. So I'm actually controlling the width and the height of what you're seeing there in this pop-up. So they're important as well. So the searching controls, match case is if you type something in there, if match case is turned on, then if it's a little a, it only looks for little a. If it's a big A, then it won't find it if you typed in a small a. If match case is off, then it finds everything that regardless of case. The whole world is an interesting one. That's saying, look, what I'm typing in, I've got to match exactly in a word. So with the normally before, whatever you typed, it found it anywhere in there. So you now have control over that. The other ones you never had control over before, though, is called if it's case sensitive or not when this list pops up. Basically, the default that you would have had for the old version is that case sensitive was turned on. I think we forgot to do that in C2B, but it's now been fixed up for C2C when you get it. This just means this pop-up list is case sensitive in the sorting. That means your uppercase come before lowercase, but you can turn off that value. If you turn it off, then they get mixed in together. You also, and this is totally new, you can say whether you want that listing to be in descending order or ascending. So for some reason, all your things you want are at the bottom, you can actually then make the list come out in the other order. Now, the important things with these, so that's the case sensitive and disorder. And a demo is really needed for this, because just to give you the idea. So I'll just try and get 12D model up, see how successful I am. Because what we're talking about is clicking over this plus or the minus. So basically, when we click over the plus, you get a list. And when I start typing in here, that's when the searching comes in. So if I actually typed big A, it'll only then, in this case, it's not case sensitive, so it's going to pick lots of things. But if I turn off case sensitivity, it'll only find things with a capital A in it. Now, when you click these things here, it will automatically change it in project settings as well. So when you save away, these will be remembered and are remembered now every time I go on a plus or a minus. The match word one we'll probably find nothing much at all, because once you're doing and matching a whole word, that's when you can use things like stars and wildcards. So that's a totally different sort of thing where you want to search for the whole word. But you can change these at any time, and it'll also then show you exactly what's changed. So that might give you a bit of an idea there what that means. And it's the same thing with the minus. It keeps the same settings because it's remembered them, and it's the same for all views. Right, that was the first one. I'll just minimize that again for a second. So that's clicking the left-hand mouse button or a plus and minus. This next one, it's got similar sorts of values, and a lot of people sort of didn't realize about this even exists. This is what happens if you type a character, just one character above the plus or the minus. What it does, it takes that character and finds everything in the list. Now, in all your models, say to add or remove, in version 12, or before this new searching was there, it basically looked for things starting with that letter, and it only looked for, say, that case. It was case sensitive. We're now going to give you a lot more choices over that. So basically what happens, this panel will control the match case and the whole word. And to make it work like before, they both come as being turned on. So basically it's matching just a whole word, and when we click over it, say with the letter I, it will add a star there for you. So it is searching the whole word. So it finds everything basically starting with that letter, which is how it worked before. And the match case, though, again, it's turned on at the moment, so it only matches case. But the good thing is now is you can change that. You can go and change those things which you want, which gives you a lot more searching capability than before. And similarly, you can control whether the list you see is case sensitive or in descending order. So there's a whole lot of things there that you can get. Again, in this one, you really need a demo. That's essential. So I'll just go back in there here again. And what this is if I came across above that plus, I'm going to do a shift I. And so it's actually finding, it's automatically now turned on I star and whole word. So it's finding everything that starts, it has to start with capital I. So that's exactly how it used to behave before. But if you wished, you could say, oh, well, I want to find things that were, say, started, was not case sensitive. I think there might be some down the bottom there. There's some with the little IFC. A bit hard to tell with I. So that one would have shown up before because that's staying with the little IFC. But when I turn case sensitivity on, it'll actually, it's there or not there. Now, the question is, what if now the other interesting thing you can do here, that because it's now here in the search, which didn't exist before, you could start typing more letters. So before you typed one, but it puts your cursor right in there, so you can actually then continue typing more letters. So it gives you that extra functionality there as well. Now, what happens if I don't have whole word turned on? When I had whole word here, it puts then I star. Well, what happens if you don't have whole word turned on, and I then type I across there again, it doesn't bother putting the star because it's then just doing one that's searching for an I anywhere in anything. So again, you've got all that extra functionality. You can just use it as you did before, or you can get all this extra functionality. Now, when it comes to the same thing, there was a third one in there, models, tins, and functions. It's basically the same as view model sorts of things, the same controls, but these are the same setting for models, tins, functions, for those various pop-ups. But the idea, they work the same, basically the same as before. I think you'll find they're very, very useful, just those things, be able to change them. But the way we ship it is the way it should work for you as before. Now, one final thing about settings before I leave it, these are all saved away in a file, and it's all documented what the name of the file is, but actually inside that file, you can have more than one set of these things, say a whole profile of them. And you can change that at any time. So if you've got a whole lot of settings set up for, say, drainage, you could have different ones for, say, road design, and just by picking the different settings profile, you'll get the different ones. There are also macro calls, and I think change chain commands to also change those things. So you have one default set, but you can change it any time to another set. This next one scares the bejeebies out of me. In version 14, users can define their own menu structure to replace the one that's shipped by 12D Model, by 12D Solutions. So that's our ship menu. So that's what you'll see out of the box. But if you like, you can actually change it totally around. And unfortunately, I did an example here where it's got exactly the same words on it, because I did it before we put BIM up the top. But you can have all these things can have totally different names in there, and all the menus under them are controlled as well. And most things in 12D Model you can set up that way. So if you really want to, you can totally customize your 12D Model. It's not in there yet, but hopefully it'll be in there very shortly that will have a button that takes you back to the main menu in case you get lost. And if you're going to do one of these things, make sure somewhere on those user-defined menus is an exit. Otherwise, it's darn hard to get outside of 12D Model. So it's just a few hints. And if you ring us up for support, we'll probably say to you, we'll hit the magic button to go back to what it was, because we have no idea when you explain to us where it is on your menu. Now, what fits in very well with these user-defined menus is that much more powerful searching, because at least it probably gives you a way of finding all the old or the other options without having to go to the menu. So hopefully that'll get us out of trouble if you make your menu so strange that we can't understand anything you're telling us. Documentation. When you install 12D Model, now on the help button or on the help pop-up, we've got a whole lot of the documentation installed so you can get access to it rather than having to go for it, getting it from somewhere else or from the web. So the 12D Model reference manual is there, the 12D Model macro manual is there, the what's new in 12D Model is there, the programming language manual is there, the getting started for design and the getting started for surveying are all there. We actually install the information or the data you need for the getting started manuals when we install 12D Model. Now, at the moment, I think these ones are still the version 12 ones. Hopefully by next week, they'll all be updated to the version 14 ones. Until we finally stopped moving everything around, it was very hard to do those manuals. But they're there with you at all times now, so if you're wanting one of these manuals, you don't have to try and find it on the web or find somewhere else to get it. A few little things that you'll be able to follow up in other webinars that are coming. We've already mentioned that the AR&R 2016 for drainage analysis is in 14, and it was also in 12. And of course, we keep improving it for 14. And so there'll be webinars on this for certain, and we've already had some. We have extended pits for water strings and also risers for water strings. So we've basically built up that so it's much more accurate to what you want in the field. And you also can now have user-defined house controls. So that allows people to make up their own and make it much more accurate, where we used to only have the 6 of them. There's a myriad of other things in water, but I'll let the people to go through who know what they're talking about in the main when they put on other webinars. Another thing we've got in there just to mention that's changed is multi-page plots. Now, we had a thing that was called multi-page plot sheet, I think, before, but now it's actually totally changed and we're calling it multi-page plots. So it's a total rewrite for version 14. It will read in your version 12 files, and give us a yell if that doesn't happen, and I'll pick on the programmer who said he would guarantee it'll work. So it shouldn't make no difference to you. But the word sheets is no longer used. And it really is version 12 MPS on steroids. And once you start using it, you'll love it. So basically, it displays itself, though, as a 3-level tree. You've got the book level, a chapter level, and then a page. Now, you wonder why on earth we've done this. And at the beginning, it might be obvious, but basically, the whole idea is this is a hierarchy. And we allow you to place things like frames, like a plan frame or a perspective frame, or text or title blocks or symbols and models. You can define them at the book level, and then they can apply to everything right through the book. You only have to put it in one place. You can put it at chapter level, so it'll only apply to that chapter, or you can put it down at the page at the lower levels. So it gives you incredible control, so you can have something that goes through the whole, all your plots with very little work. For example, you might want to put a watermark in there. Well, you can put the watermark at the book level, and if you put it right at the beginning of the hierarchy of the list, it'll be drawn before anything else. So something like that, you only have to put in one place and it'll come out on every plot. The most powerful thing, though, is there are things called references. We can actually override everything for a chapter or a page. So although you've got a title block for the whole book, on an individual page, you can turn that title block off, change information in it, or put a whole different title block. So similarly for all of these things. So if you've got a frame on the very first book, so it might be a plan view, you're going to have on every view, that will be there, but again, you can override that on a particular chapter or a particular page. So it's called referencing. So it's very, very powerful. And that's why we've got this hierarchy to make it much, much easier. And we'll see about the chapters, why we call them chapters as well, or why they're needed. When you actually can draw frames, and if you've had this, you've got your sheet, and this is how you're going to draw information on the particular page. We've added new types there. In version 12, we had a plan, so you could do a bit of a plan view and rotate it and all the rest. You can have one individual cross-section or one individual part of a long section. We've also now added in a perspective view, so you can actually plot what's on a perspective view. You can plot what's on a section view. And we've also got things in plotting that do these as well. You don't have to go to MPS. There are also new PPFs for each of these. We also can produce a PDF, 3D PDF. So on your PDF that's produced, one of the frames in there, you can have a 3D PDF, as well as what's the picture of what's on the perspective view. We also have the nodes diagram. That's the diagram for water stream, where it shows you the manhole, where the pipes come into it, and label it with all sorts of things. So you can have individual nodes from the whole model of them done. There is also, though, under normal PPFs, there's a whole thing producing these node diagrams for, also most people think of them as manhole diagrams for everything in your network. You'll see down there's these other things there, they're called references. And this is where you can reference another plan reference or a cross-section reference and so on. So even though you might have it in another page, you can then reference it onto a different page or a chapter or so on. And you can use that idea to turn them off. Very, very powerful, so you'll have great fun. And that referencing just makes overriding and changing things just for one page or a whole chapter, it makes it a breeze. So I think you're going to love this stuff. Why are these special chapters? What we've got, and this is why we've broken up this way, there are things called special chapters. There's one for cross sections, long sections, water, long section, plot frame, and a node diagram. And what it basically is, and if you look at this one here, the example, it was a long section one. You can actually give a PPF file, and then you've got information you can override on that PPF, but if you just don't do anything, it will then create pages in this book for every page of your long section PPF. If it's 5 pages, you'll get 5 pages. If it's 100 pages, you'll get 100 pages. You don't have to worry about how many pages there are. We worry about that. So basically, this allows you to combine all these sorts of things and don't have to ever worry about how you're combining them. And if you wish, these things are grayed out because you pick a PDF file, but you then might go and pick a totally different string to use rather than the one in the PPF. Also for model strings to profile or a horizontal scale, vertical exaggeration, or start and end chainage. So even though the PPF file might say I want everything, you might just limit it. And so it'll limit the number of pages you get. So these special chapters, as I say, are there for all the things you can actually do up in the plotting, all the main ones. So you can put together a whole book very, very easily. And the fact that the number of pages for long sections and cross sections may change, you do not have to worry about it. We worry about it in the background. And of course, we've got the MPS text variables, which you can put anywhere. One's called $current page. There's another one called $total pages. So that will automatically adjust for those special chapters. So you don't have to figure out how many pages there are in the book. There's a $total pages to do that for you. So I think there's lots of good things in the multi-page plots for you. There's a lot of other things and that go on forever trying to show off them, but things like GDA 2020, MJ 2020, a lot of our people are going to see that coming in Australia, where the model of the Earth, or the definition of longitude and latitude, is changing, mainly because we've moved about 1.8 metres since 1994. So we're now adjusting it. So basically, the longitude and latitude of every place in Australia is changing again. And this time it's only by about 1.8 metres. So you could get that wrong very easily. 12D field pickup for the surveyors, that's been totally rewritten and combined with 12D set out so they all work together. That's being bashed by some of our users now for a couple of years, and they say it's just fantastic. It works so well, and I'm certain you'll enjoy that. And again, we'll have webinars on that. And 12D field set out, we just keep adding more and more things to that as our users do more and more things. Another thing that people keep coming at us about or asking is basically what I'd say, can BIM be civil? So the question really is, can BIM be applied to civil infrastructure? Now, a lot of people think this doesn't happen, but it's mainly the software packages they're dealing with. Because most BIM packages out there come from the architectural world, which have no idea what civil's all about. So there's a lot of things you may have to unlearn if you've had someone from the dark side, maybe like architects and things, saying their package can't see your data. But there's one bit more to this than that. The other thing is, can you darn well do civil BIM without cost blowouts in the design and construction phases? Because I can tell you, everyone's being told at the upper levels, oh, they're going to save millions and millions of dollars or 50% on the project and all that. And you guys are actually producing a civil BIM. I can tell you now, they're not going to give you a friggin' another cent. So you're going to have to do all this extra work for no extra money. And that's what we've done in 12D Model 14, or continue what we're doing in 12, to get all this stuff out, to make you be able to model things really accurately without doing a lot of extra work, because you're not going to get paid any extra money. All the sorts of things you can create. All these things on there, all the pavement layers, they can come out straight from MTF. You can put all your lighting, you can put guardrails, all those sorts of things now you can create. There's a lot of things in the MTF to do all sorts of extra things that you just couldn't do before. So you can do it easy, such as driveways and things like that. You can do it with a click of a couple of buttons, and that's all using all our snippets. And the snippets just got more and more powerful to do more and more things as you can feed back what you need to do in your detailed designs. So all that information can be produced automatically from 12D, so you don't have to do any extra work. Similarly here, there's bridges there. We do generate various bridges, or we can read them in from other packages. Things like these traffic lights, there's things to do, all those sorts of things. So you don't have to do anything. They're right there and you just got to place them. Sets of culverts, things like that. Again, with our tri-meshes, we can put them in. You can see how you can section through them. So basically, we're putting more and more things in there, which once would have been thought of as visualization, but it's more there for BIM so people can use them and pass them on to other packages. We use tri-meshes for a lot of these, so they can go out and most other packages then can read them. Here's one from tri-meshes created from a tunnel boring machine, the TBM as it's called, rings. So as they're actually building these things, they're collecting a whole lot of information. They often can't see them. So in this case, we've just got a macro we've written to read this information and show it. And all those different colors mean something there about how much it's been rotated as they're doing it. So people can look at their data. But again, that's construction BIM, so they can look at what's going on, all quite possible. We have in 12, and we've beefed it up for 14, an IFC Reader. IFC is the international standard that everyone is supposed to be using for BIM. It's the open standard from the Open Consortium, Building Smart. And here's examples which you may have seen where we've read in data from other packages. And of course, once you get into a 12D model, so you can bring all this sort of architectural detail in with no problems at all, but then you can section through it and profile it through it, all the sorts of things that you can do with 12D model. And of course, we can do long sections along it. A lot of people can just show a cross section, but to do a long section, that's much, much harder in packages. And federated models. 12D model can take in all this data, produce federated models for you. And of course, in 12D with Federated Models, again, all our tools are there. And we can set it out using 12D field. So basically, all this stuff, many of our customers did our technical forum last year, and you'll see many more examples. It's all can be done. Civil BIM can be done. What you have with IFCs is what are called property sets. So we call them attributes. They call them property sets, and they usually have a name. We can actually do that using our attribute manipulator and put them into your user-defined property sets, and then they can be written out to IFCs and read it into other products such as Celebri. So you can do that quite happily, and so you can have different tabs in Celebri showing the different property sets. We put one out called 12D Model, which has extra information that we want, but you can have your others. So there's one there called Pavement that's come from however our users defined it. So all that side of BIM for civil all works quite happily. We put the IFC Reader out in version 12, but in 14 we've boosted it up. In 14 we support reading of IFC 2x3, which most of the industry, 90% of the architectural, and that's what they're still using, IFC 4 and IFC 4x1, which I think is just being released at the moment. What's important about IFC 4x1, it's 4.1, but some of the systems can't take a dot, so that's where they say 4x1. It has an IFC alignment and an IFC tin. So what that means is our alignments, our super alignments, can go out to an IFC format. They go out as segments, so basically it has to be the solved geometry, which that means it can go in there, and also we can have a tin. They can't take super tins yet. In fact, we appear to be the only product in the world who can do super tins. But basically, the information on the left there is in 12D Model. I've written it out to IFC and then read it back in. Colors might have colors in IFC. It just depends how you've set it up. But then you can change things and map them inside 12D Model. So basically, civil data can go out to the newer versions of IFC. And at the moment, they're working on that and adding more things in there. In 2 weeks, I'll be in Dusseldorf, where I'm at the next Building Smart International IFC Summit, where we're discussing the IFCs for roads, rails, tunnels, bridges, where they're continually putting these new ones in there, getting ready for IFC 5. So 12D Model and Civil BIM. If you're talking about BIM systems, for civil, you need large coordinates. And tick, we can have large coordinates. But not only large coordinates for a small area, we can have large, long, horizontal projects. Everyone can probably do coordinates for 10 kilometers, even large, but go for 100 kilometers. That's what you need for civil BIM. Arcs are not actually 3D circles. What they are is a helix, because all the arcs you tend to have in civil, they're a circle in plan. That's when you project back down. Well, if your Z value is varying, it's actually going up as a helix, so like a spiral staircase. Again, that's what ours are. Ours are civil arcs. We can have strings with and without diameters. In IFCs, you can have strings with diameters, but a lot of the architectural packages decided years ago that would only worry about data that has a diameter. That's a package problem. IFC is quite happily with it. And for things like contours, I've never seen a contour that's a pipe. You've got all those sorts of things, edge of bitumen, all that. You need strings without diameters because we use them all the time. Surveyors, if you pick up a string, it doesn't have a diameter. It just does. So that's why you need those sorts of things for a civil work. Names of strings, we've had that, of course, and in Australia and New Zealand, that's been around since 1980s. So, and lucky IFC does have a name to go with the objects. So we have all that covered in 12D. Null Z values. A lot of systems really only work at things in 3D, what do you do with null Z values? Some people set them to 0 so they can see them. Well, that's great. You might then think it's a real value, minus 999. Well, they try and look at it as in a perspective view and the data looks crazy. You've got to be able to handle Z values, null Z values correctly, which means in perspective view, you don't show those particular points. And they are super important for civil because you don't want to often surveys, particularly cadastre. Cadastre does not have a Z value. So if you give it a Z value, someone may think it's a real value. Super important. Drainage, sewer pits and pipes, we obviously have those. We have tins for surface and trimesters for 3D objects, and we have alignments. We have linear referencing using alignments. That's what the alignment's all about. You want to be able to give chainage offset. That's the equivalent to a building grid. So we have all that sort of thing in our civil package. And we have all the different transition spirals and transitions and spirals. Cubic parabola is often different to the New South Wales cubic parabola. People don't quite understand that. I don't think in the IFC definition, they don't actually have the New South Wales cubic parabola. It's a spiral cubic parabola. So yeah, I can say that 12D Model 14 with that BIM can be civil. Anything you want to do in civil, we can produce. Whether some other package can accept it, well, if they're not a civil enabled package, what else can you do? Right, a few extra final things to finish off. 12D View. If people don't know about 12D View, that's a free 12D model project viewer, so it should be able to open 12D model projects. I'm not certain if it works on the sharing as yet, but lots of the other data, if it's all in one project, we can see it. When the data is read in, it's a simplified menu, but you can have all our various things there. You can do sectioning. In this case here, I'm doing 2-point sectioning. You can do all those sorts of things inside the viewer. So it's very, very powerful, and it is real 12D model, so it works the way you'd expect 12D model to. It can also, and I'm saying 12D View 14, and that's the ones now on the website, it can actually read in data from a variety of sources. So this is from the menu from C2B. You can read in 12DA data. You can read in 12E XML data. I think it does both there. You can read in DWG. You can read in DXF. You can read in GenIO. You can read in an old GenIO. You can also read in IFC data, and you can also read in ADAC data. So any of those things you can read in. What you can't do with a view is you can't store the information, but you can read any of that in and look at it. And just like 12D model, 12D View has plan, section, and perspective views. You can do profiling, inspection views. You've got inquire options, and you've got measure options. It can use an existing 12D model authorization. You can, and that'll show the name in that. You can register it and get a name in that and you have to do that for each individual computer, or if you don't have any of those, it will run unregistered. It just comes up and says unregistered thing. So it doesn't matter. You can run it now on any computer, and if it hasn't been registered, you'll just see it says unregistered version, but it will still run. So basically 12D View, it's out there for you. If you haven't used it yet, it's a great tool. It's a great tool. You can also, though, even go in there and create a new project. So even though you can load up an existing project, there's also a mode where you can click on and open a new project, and we do a dummy project, and so you could read data into it and stuff like that. So you don't have to have a project already set up to be able to read in and look at some of that data. Finally there, 12D Synergy 3 and 12D Synergy 4, they both, the latest versions of those, both support 12D Model 14. So if you've gone to the latest versions, then 12D Model C2B and future ones, C2C, which will come out shortly, they're also supported by 12D Synergy 3 and 12D Synergy 4. So that was just a quick look at some of the things that may be different when you start off, and it's a little bit of what's there. The What's New thing goes for about 500 pages, the PDF. There's a lot of new things in there. And so, as I say, we'll keep adding it for you, and we will continue to have other webinars for it. So look, thank you very much for attending the webinar. I hope you enjoy using your 12D Model Forum, 14 version. Always go onto the forum for comments, information, any bugs. People have bugs and crashes, get back to us and we try and fix them as soon as possible. So, well, anything you want, just post it there so we can start commenting and potentially it may get into the new version. So watch out for our future webinars, which will give more detail of all the different major things in 12D model. So they'll start soon, now that there's more and more people going to 14, and it should allow you to get a lot more information about each part that you're interested in, your particular area. So thank you very much. And I think 12D Model 14 you'll find is the ultimate Civil BIM solution. We've got this 12D is a civil engineering database, so it can talk to all these other areas, even with architectural packaging with IFC. So it's your tool for the future for your Civil BIM.
Thanks, Lee. We're reasonably close to time, so I might just email you through the couple of questions that have come through from the audience during the presentation. I think it was pretty comprehensive. The recording of this webinar will be available on our 12D Model YouTube channel in coming days. Keep an eye on our emails and social media for more great upcoming webinar topics, especially the new ones coming out in 12D Model 14, as Lee mentioned. And if you need to contact us in the meantime, our details are on the screen now. That concludes our presentation for today. Thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you at future webinars.